Andaman and Nicobar Islands and Puducherry, and a former GOC in C. Padma Shri Kiran Vyas ji, recipient of Padma Shri in 2024 and the founder of Tapovan in France. Thank you, Professor. I now invite Mr. Verma and the panelists to begin the discussion.
Yes, I have some sound now. So 1948, I think, or 1498, Vasco da Gama came to this part of the world, probably to localize global knowledge. And you have called us all to globalize Indian knowledge now. So it's a great opportunity. Thank you. It is actually a great honor and joy to be here with all of you today for this very special session, Invent in India. Before we begin, allow me to say that I come from a place which is definitely not God's own country, but when God needs a break, he comes to Pondicherry. That is a place I come from, a small yet luminous corner of India, where silence meets beauty, where art and yoga blend into daily life, and where invention is not only of things, but of consciousness itself. The title of our session, Invent in India, was born as a gift, now encourages deep reflection, and is the need of the hour in our country. After the government announced the visionary, innovative Make in India, we all began to speak about innovation in India. Make in India gave us purpose and pride in producing on our own soil. But there was still a deeper calling, a next step, a more holistic approach, which included both the inward and the outward evolution. Instead of merely copying or reproducing what already exists elsewhere, we felt the time has come to create from within, to draw from the vast well of our consciousness, our culture, and our timeless wisdom. And so came the idea of Invent in India, not just to make, not just to innovate, but to truly invent, to give birth to new ideas and expressions from the nation's soul itself. And for all those who can see, India today is actually being built and rebuilt right in front of your eyes. But this time it is not just being built outwardly, it is being built consciously. It is not losing the wisdom of the past, it's carrying that wisdom forward into the future. It is inventing a new destiny while remaining rooted in the eternal truth of its soul. As Sri Aurobindo wrote beautifully in the Karma Yogin, and this was 100 years back, which stands even today, that a nation is building in India today before the eyes of the world so swiftly, so palpably, that all can watch the process, and those who have sympathy and intuition distinguish the forces at work, the materials in use, the lines of the divine architecture. This nation is not a new race, raw from the workshop of nature, or created by circumstances like USA. We believe that it is sure to succeed. The freedom, unity, and greatness of India have now become necessary for the world. These words written so many years, 1 century ago, feel even more alive today. I thought I should share this in this forum, for truly before our eyes, India is being reborn. Not just as an economic power, but as a living force of consciousness and creativity for the world. During all the sessions, actually, that I have attended here, and through the entire ethos of this great institute, I have noticed one beautiful, powerful, common thread, sutra, a tremendous awareness of the wisdom of the past. When you enter this campus, you are greeted by Arjuna, poised with his bow and arrow, a symbol of a symbol of perfect focus. It reminds us that true learning begins with concentration and purpose. At every step in the Indian Institute of Management, this harmony between past and future is visible. It reminds me again of a profound insight that we must take the wisdom of the past and use the most advanced technology of the present to build a meaningful and original future. And that is what I see here, not just in discussions, but in the spirit of this entire institution. You are uniting the ancient and the modern, the spiritual and the scientific, creating not an imitation of the West, but a truly original and beautiful future of India. I would like to begin, well, I've already begun, and express my heartfelt gratitude to the director of this visionary institute, or the visionary director of this beautiful institute, Dr. Devashish Da. And under his guidance, management education becomes not just about competition, but about conscious evolution. Not only about doing, but about being. We are blessed today to have with us two extraordinary guests. On my left, we have one of the great soldiers of our country who have done a lot. It is because of the soldiers like Lieutenant General A.K. Singh that today we can hold so calmly in the south end of India all these conferences, because they are in the border saving our lives, saving our land, and allowing us to live with freedom and smiles and happiness. We're so proud to have you, and thank you for bringing this time out. He's not only the general in the Indian Army who commanded a major portion, but he was also the lieutenant governor of two states. One was Pondicherry and one Andamans. So I have had a good fortune of spending a lot of time with him, and he embodies discipline, deep integrity. He embodies the strength and service of the Indian Army, something that we need to know about at these times. On my right, I have my dear friend Padma Shri Kiran Vyasji, who has taken ancient India's knowledge of yoga and Ayurveda to the world through his Tapovan Center in France, reminding us that inner balance is the key to outer progress. Together, they represent the two great powers of India, our strength, outer strength, and inner strength, light, both essential to invention and renewal. And I've heard Devashishda talk a lot about uh, Raja and Rishi to be true leaders. So they represent both aspects of the inner individual that helps you being a leader. With this, I would request General Saab to give us the essence of the Indian Army. You have 20 minutes to talk about it. Yes.
Esteemed Director, I am Kozhikode, distinguished co-panelists, guests, faculty, and students. It's indeed a singular privilege to be here to address you all, and that also on a subject close to my heart, the Indian Armed Forces. But before I dwell on the subject as such, let me enlighten you all on the essence of the Indian Armed Forces. because you need to understand that this is one institution that retains the highest credibility in our country. Please go back decades, and every India Today Outlook poll rates us at number one. Every citizen of this country, irrespective of region, religion, caste, or creed, holds the Indian Armed Forces in high esteem. And let me start with an ancient quote that Chanakya is supposed to have told the king of Magad. The Mauryan soldier does not himself the royal treasuries enrich. The Mauryan soldier does not himself enrich the Mauryan treasuries. He only ensures that happens. He is thus the very basis, the silent, barely visible cornerstone of our fame, culture, physical well being, and prosperity. And that applies so beautifully to India of the 21st century. So let me start by first talking of what is the defined role of the armed forces. Your armed forces have two roles, the primary role and the secondary. The primary role is to ensure the safety, security, and territorial integrity of the nation from external threats through deterrence. Deterrence is our very being ensures that there is no. But if deterrence fails, then through waging war. And the beauty is that this task is so formidable because we have to perform this task in such difficult and challenging terrain, starting from Siachen at 22,000 feet, coming down to the plains of Punjab, the deserts of Rajasthan, the peninsular India, and the offshore territories, including, if required, in our neighborhood. We also have to be prepared to wage a war against or across the spectrum of conflict. And let me explain. The spectrum of conflict I refer to actually talks of starting at the lowest level, that is, small incidents. You saw something in Delhi the other day, counterterrorism, proxy war, insurgency, and then gradually rising to a full fledged conventional conflict, and that too against a nuclear backdrop. So once, when I was DG Perspective Planning in the Army, I briefed the American Army chief on what we do. And he stopped me as I explained this to him. He said, General, I can't imagine even the American Army trying to do such a difficult and varied task. That was his comment. So that's what your army does. We also have a secondary role, and that is to aid civil authority. To aid civil authority when requisitioned for the purpose. So the army cannot suo moto go and start doing something. The civil authority has to request assistance from the central government or Ministry of Defense. And when internal security threats go beyond the level of the police and other security forces, the army takes on. Rightly, we do not like the secondary role. Most of the time, it involves our own citizens, and we would prefer not to get involved, except when there is natural calamities, etc. Also, we prefer to focus on our primary role. That's our bread and butter. But today, the situation is that we get called out at the drop of a hat, literally. A child goes into a tube well. So there are plethora of agencies in the state to rescue the child, but they'll call out the army. It detracts from our primary role, and this is so because the other agencies of the state are not doing their job properly. But apart from these two, we also have a sort of derived role where we are role models for the nation, for the youth of today and tomorrow. We take part in varied activities like sports, environment, etc. Every year, about 60 to 70,000 servicemen retire and join the society, enriching it through their discipline and focus. So, what are the core values that guide us and that we stand for? Well, you can think of many, but I'll focus on just three. The first core value is that we are apolitical. Let me explain. Every serviceman has the right to vote in his constituency for a candidate of his choice, for a party of his choice. We do not encourage parties to come and canvass in cantonments. But as an institution, we have no preference who forms the government of the day. We follow the constitution of the country and we take legitimate orders from the government of the day. You must see this is a clear distinction that distinguishes us from a lot of countries like Pakistan, where the armed forces are so politicized. And I dare say it is the job of every citizen, including the political parties, to ensure that this remains so. The day the Indian armed forces get politicized will indeed be a sad day for this country. The second core value that we espouse is we are secular. Let me explain this, though it's an easy term to understand. We live together, we train together, we fight together, irrespective of any bias based on region, religion, caste, or creed. It's a utopian model for the rest of the country. Actually, this is what your constitution envisages for the country. So, if the armed forces can live like this, why can't others? And let me tell you how we look at religion. While religion remains a personal choice, in the institution, if there is a Sikh battalion and I am commanding, I will wear a kada and I will go to the Gurdwara. If there is a Muslim battalion, the officers on parade will go to the mosque and so on, and vice versa. So it's a very beautiful tradition that we need to preserve. And the third is we are highly professional. Whatever we do it with our best abilities, and for that we prepare. Okay. While the Indian soldier is very good, what makes him formidable, what makes him 10 feet tall is the military leadership that leads him, prepares him in peace and leads him in war. Well, leadership is present in all walks of life, including in IIM. So, what is it that makes military leadership so special? Again, three things. First is an unlimited liability contract. When an officer joins the army, he does not sign one, but in essence, he develops an unlimited liability. He gives himself up to the organization, and hereafter he will go where he is asked to go. He'll do as he is asked to do, even at the risk of injury or death. But in return, the organization and the nation assure him that they will look after him in life as in death. This kind of bond is unique to the armed forces only, and that is how your soldiers can perform without fear or favor. The second is leadership in the armed forces is not about profit and loss, it's about life and death issues. So, in a corporate, I'm a director with two, three corporates. In a corporate, you have a loss in 1 year. So, what do? You have a strategy session, you devise new methodologies. And to encourage your employees, you send them to Goa for a holiday. Pray tell me, can you ask a soldier to go to his death by giving him a holiday in Goa? No. So, motivation in the armed forces is based on a higher plane. It is about national service. It is about that unlimited liability contract I talked of. It is about leading from the front. It is about standing up for what you think is right. It is about putting yourself in harm's way before you put your subordinates. It is about trust, it is about camaraderie, and it is about extreme ownership for the task at hand. And the third thing is that in the armed forces, we do not have the luxury of being runners up. We have to win every time and again. Only once we did not come up to the standard, that was 62 China war, and we still carry a chip on our shoulder because of that. Let me narrate a personal incident. In Andaman, I had created a beautiful wooden office overlooking the sea. And outside my office, I had placed 6 flags of various army units and formations that I had commanded. So whoever came visiting me, especially VIPs, like the president, home minister, they would stand there and want a photograph. So the home minister, who was technically my boss, came. Mr. Rajnath Singh was the home minister then. He was quite fond of me. So he admired the flags and we took a photograph. And then, in his wisdom, he made a remark. He says, General Saab, now the police is also under you. So would you care to put a flag of the police also? I said, sure, sir, I have overlooked. We sat inside over tea. And I said, sir, let me explain what distinguishes the armed forces from everyone else. So he smiled and bole, bataiye. I said, sir, if there is a riot in some state, what will you do? You are the home minister. He said, no, it's a state subject. The state government will handle it. I said, sir, what if the state government fails? He says, I'll send central police forces. They'll handle it. I said, sir, if they fail, he says, you are there. The army is always there. I said, sir, can you tell me, whom will you send if we fail? There is nobody standing behind us. We are the last resort of this nation. Now, let me just talk of our motto. We call it the Chetwood motto. Field Marshal Chetwood was the chief of the British Indian Army, and in 1932, he established the Indian Military Academy, Dehradun. And there on its portals are written few lines which we have adopted as a motto. And what are those lines? In simple words, the lines state the country first, always and every time. The country first, always and every time. The men you command come next. Your own ease, safety, and comfort comes last, always and every time. A lot of people tell me, Jal Sahab, this is a utopian concept in the 21st century where it is all about I, me, mine. Well, so be it. But we can't have it any other way. If you have to lead men to their death, then it cannot be any other way. Right. Now, with that as a backdrop, let me come to the topic of today: invent in India. Lalit, will you warn me when 2 minutes are left? Okay. When India became independent in 47, we inherited two-thirds of the British Indian Army. One-third went to Pakistan. We also inherited a civil and military leadership quite inexperienced in politico military strategy and higher direction of war, including capabilities and their development. On top of that, there was an abhorrence towards hard power, with then PM quoted as saying that why do we need the military? Our moral stature, diplomacy, and the police would be enough. But soon we got a reality check with the war with Pakistan in 47-48, and more so with the Chinese invasion of 62. Our capability development was therefore in those days only confined to the public sector, DRDO, and Ordnance Factory Board, mainly relying on imports from USA, UK, and Russia. Over the next 3-4 decades, we were to realize the hard truth that there is no substitute to indigenous defense capability, and we had to involve the private sector too. We also realized that a nation that aspires for a seat on the high table cannot depend on others for its basic security needs. Self reliance in defense is the ultimate form of supply chain resilience. It ensures that our most critical military preparedness is insulated from external disruptions. In the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan launched by PM Modi on 12th May 20, defense was identified as one of the champion sectors. The message was clear: India will not only be the world's largest democracy, it will also become a hub for defense design, manufacture, and exports. In the last 5 years, many positive steps have been taken. There is a positive indigenization list covering over 500 items, which have to be only procured indigenously, starting from assault rifles to drones, submarines, and aircraft. This has given a greater fillip to indigenous industry and startups. In a series of procurement reforms, priority has been accorded to Indian industry. The highest priority in procurement now goes to buy Indian IDDM, that is indigenously designed, developed, and manufactured in India. Thank you. Furthermore, a percentage of the capital procurement, and I know in 22-23, 68% of the capital budget had to be procured indigenously and probably has risen now. Liberalized FDI and global partnerships up to 74%, and in critical cases, 100% with government approval. Two defense corridors have also been established, one in north and one in south. So, what are the challenges and way ahead? We still depend on imports for key components like engines, sensors, and semiconductors. Still inadequate R&D in the industry and, if I may add, academia. Foreign ownership or foreign owners still reluctant to part with niche technologies. quality of indigenous product and speed of delivery is still suspect. Battlefield innovation, which Russia does so beautifully right on the battlefield in Ukraine, is far away still. So, what's the way ahead? I think innovation and collaboration between defense forces, industry, and academia is the way forward. For Atmanirbharta in defense, above three pillars must strengthen simultaneously. First, the armed forces must continue to engage closely with industry and academia, defining their qualitative requirements early and clearly, co developing technologies, and finally, ensuring trust. Industry must invest in R&D and create reliable supply chains. Third, academia must contribute through management innovation, designing new models for public private partnerships, project management, and global competitiveness. IIM Kozhikode, with its focus on strategic thinking and responsible leadership, can be a key enabler in this ecosystem. Imagine a defense innovation and management hub stroke laboratory here at IIM Kozhikode, connecting policymakers, specialists, entrepreneurs, faculty, and students to reimagine the future of India's defense industry. Some IITs have taken a lead, and may I request the director, a visionary man, to look at this, and I could assist if you so desire. That's what I have in my opening statement. I'll close with one famous verse of mine, not mine, but which I like. निकले थे अकेले मंजिल की ओर, निकले थे अकेले मंजिल की ओर, लोग मिलते गए और कारवां बन गया. धन्यवाद. जय हिंद.
General Saab, thank you so much. I can only salute you, not only you, but to the whole Indian Army through you. You represent the outer wisdom, strength, discipline, bravery. I will request now Kiranji to now talk about the inner part, the inner discipline, the inner calm, the inner strength that actually can sustain each one of you in the outer projects. And then we can have a question answer session. That would be more lively.
Lalitji and our dear director, Devashishta, give me a difficult task to play. I would say that all of us coming into this world are just players, just actors. The only problem is we do not know what we have to do, how have we to act. But to play or to be in the body of somebody who has the wisdom is a difficult task. Whether we have it or no, that's another question. But I would immediately go to the ancient Vedas and Upanishads. One sentence which was well used by Swami Vivekananda, which came from Upanishad, Uttishtata, Jagrata, Prapya Varani Bodhata. Just get up, stand up, wake up, arise, and find the right persons, the right thing to do. Find a place or a person or a leader. I'll just fill up the blank like Debashishta and come over here to develop something. Because this vision in which we are supposed to be working on, it's a utopic thing as it sounds. But at the same time, it is the very truth of our being. It is the very truth of our nation. It is the very truth of our dharma, our action, which we need to take up. First of all, as General Saib told us, the discipline. The discipline is the first and foremost thing, whether it's a physical discipline, whether it's a mental discipline, or whether it's a discipline of our inner being. When it comes to the discipline of inner being, we will call it tapasya, tapas, that need to be woken up, a sort of a heat, sort of an austerity. And this austerity, this tapasya is the time now. It is not going to be time beyond. We made a big mistake in a way that we put up the aim as the independence of India. We did get it in 1947. Of course, our hands and legs and half of the body was just cut off. We didn't even mind. Did we really think about it? Does not matter. But in order to be the full human being, the full nation, the necessity of India being united, India being the one soul and body. The division of India has no meaning inwardly. Of course, there might be some talks politically, but I would not mind. I just want to tell you my personal vision of India, that is, it is the integral India, which politically Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal, these are so-called different countries, even Bhutan and things. But it has this one and the same vibration. That is the vibration of a spiritual based nation. Call it a Sanatan Dharma, call it something else, and where the power has to be there. Power means sort of energy. And the first power is certainly the hard power of our Sir military power. India, according to me and according to many thinkers like me, have repeated, but we repeated a bit too softly because we were for the soft power and our announcing that also, but it has to be a strong military power. Secondly, the economic power, the commercial power, the business power, the administration power. So these are the first fundamental powers. Then comes the qualified, intelligent workers. Then comes the basic livelihood of day-to-day life, wherever room is neat and clean, wherever kitchen is proper, where we get good food, where we get good rest. So this is the general structure. And if a yogi is to meditate, if he has to go to the Himalayas and in his own meditation, certainly when he will go within, and there is a small story of three yogis, they just were meditating, and after 3 months of meditation, they heard some voice, but they continued meditating. After 6 months, one fellow said, one of the yogis, "Oh, it was a tiger." But they didn't move. They again continued meditating. Another 6 or 9 months passed. The other yogi said, "No, it was a lion." Meditations continued. After a year, the third one said, "If you go on fighting like this, I'm quitting you." So, but this was just to say the patience and the power of meditation. And in fact, in such meditations, as Sri Aurobindo put it in his aphorisms, thoughts and aphorisms, that a yogi meditated on the Himalayan tops, and in his meditation came the three words: liberty, equality, and fraternity. And the power of these three words in meditation was so much that a country like France did French Revolution. Well, whether it's true or no, but French people do agree that is not just a simple political thing. It was not just simple. Of course, they gave lot of importance to Voltaire and Hugo and writers, that the pen had a better power than the sword. Of course, but the sword needs to be there. I do not underestimate that. But it was capable of igniting a French Revolution. Our India has given a great importance to the soft power. Since 1947, in fact, with all respect to all our leaders, whether they are leaders, political leaders, or our think tank, or our universities and teachers. But what I felt personally, that in fact, not only that we had almost 1,000 years of slavery, that is to say about 800 years with the Muslim Raj, whatever it might be, positive or negative. But of course, we did see that the great universities like Nalanda and Takshashila and everything was destroyed. So much so that when Nalanda was burned, the library of Nalanda took more than 6 months the fire to be extinguished. Similarly, wherever there was a true Indian culture, I would not say the Indian religion, I would not say, but a methodical, purposeful destruction was done by some forces. Call it a religion, call it some adverse forces, but for about 800 onward years. Of course, before the Muslims could come, they came 17 times to the temple of Somnath. And we showed our generosity of mind and heart, and this, we just did not destroy them. We just left them. We even gave them money. We gave them camels and horses and lot of money. Please go back to your own country and live peacefully. Whether it was a good decision, General Sahib will tell us it wasn't. You and me also today thinking will say it wasn't a good decision to just let them go. But that's what we did. Similarly, Buddhism was a very great thing. Ashoka, the great, we have Ashoka Chakra as our symbol. But what happened? India became weak because the power of ahimsa, certainly it exists, but the power of non-army is not the uh, aim of India. So, according to me, not only these 800 years of Muslim Raj, but 200 years of the Western England, France, Portugal, and many other countries, they tried to grab upon India. They tried to loot India from all its prosperity. And the respect for our culture, for our knowledge was so superficial. Of course, I would say they did not have the consciousness to understand. But at the same time, they were commercially interested. They did manage whole of India only with the Indian people. In fact, no British ruler or British king or queen could have ruled India. Luckily, there were very intelligent Indians who were there, who were their advisors, who were their ministers, like our first viceroy, Indian viceroy, or Raja Gopalachari. He had that. He was like a rishi who could manage that. So, for me, India certainly needs to develop all the powers. India needs to be conscious of all these powers also. So first, I took up a challenge that let me develop this soft power of India with the yoga and Ayurveda, with Indian music and Indian art in a way to help me out. So I believe these soft powers have to be developed, to be given proper importance to it. At the same time, the hard powers like military power, like commercial and economic power have to be there with a great visionary administrative power with the what you are all working at present and what is being really worked out here for the first time. I would say we need to continue this. With this few words, I pass the floor to Lalitji. Thank you.
Thank you, Kiran Bhai. We'll do. Thank you so much for this part and this aspect of life. We'll go quickly for a quick question answer session so that you also get a chance to ask some questions. We'll request the panelists to be very brief. General Saab, you have led through the toughest challenges from the borders to the corridors of decision making. The question for you is, you have seen India's youth in action, both in uniform and in classrooms. What qualities do we need to cultivate to make India not just a consumer of ideas, but a creator of them?
Lalit, that's a vast question, and the best person to answer it would be our director, not me. But let me give my views. I think the education system itself needs a relook. And I'll tell you through personal experience. I have a granddaughter who's 4.5 years old. My son, whom we pushed through the complete system, he's a national level horse rider. But I pushed him in the system and he got through to Delhi School of Economics. One day he rings me up. He said, Dad, I don't like what I'm interacting here and I will not do it. And he left Delhi School of Economics, not even midway, just a few months. And I was horrified. Being a army man, I said, leaving a place like Delhi School of Economics? But he's been a successful national champion in horse riding. And today, he's a great entrepreneur. He's established things which have beauty and purpose. So I think we need to relook at the system. He hasn't sent my granddaughter to school, and her development, to my amazement, is phenomenal. Touch wood, that's what it is. We need to encourage innovation. We need to encourage adaptability. We need to encourage inquisitiveness and an ability to question. There has to be greater focus on skills, not just theory. हाथ से काम करने का हुनर भी आना चाहिए. Somebody has to translate those ideas back into actual form. Lastly, I'll just say how far behind we are. There is a book which is called Wired for War. Wired for War by P.W. Singer, 2009 US edition. I was presented this book and I was amazed that in 2009, Washington was pumping in billions of dollars in laboratories. In academia, every university had a development lab where they were practicing on unmanned systems, drones. So you see how far they are. We are not doing enough, is what I would say, and need to focus more. Thank you.
Another quick question for you. How can the discipline and focus and teamwork of the armed forces inspire innovation in our institutions and industries?
The armed forces, if I may add, are sometimes rigid and conformist. So I won't recommend that model for academia. Our job is different. Your job is to develop ideas. Our job is to implement the orders that are given on the battlefield. That's the first point. While discipline, focus, and teamwork are necessary, there must be space for individual genius to flourish. There must also be greater capacity to absorb dissent, which unfortunately the armed forces are not a good model. And this is critical in academia. We should be able to encourage people to speak their mind. I teach occasionally at IIM Rohtak. I think your friend Dheeraj Sharma cornered me. So I asked him, before I accept, what would you like me to teach? And his answer actually just floundered me. He said, Sir, I want you to take the students out of the syllabus. I want you to broaden their horizon. That's what I'm doing in Rohtak. I can share what I'm doing there. Okay. Just last point, when you are starting young, you have to develop an ability called logical thinking. Everything can be tackled with logical thinking. But as you grow senior, you have to develop intuition, an ability to hit the swear punkt or the point of main impact even before it materializes. That's intuition, and that's a combination of your knowledge and experience, not only personal experience, but experience of others as well. Lalit?
I have one more question for you. You've always emphasized nation building as a moral mission. Do you think innovation without ethics can ever be sustainable?
Yeah, I totally agree with you that ethics and moral values are the basic building blocks for genius to flourish. Has to be a greater focus on gravitas, not expediency. I think this is a subject which I emphasize to the students that I teach. Follow gravitas, even if it appears costly to you, rather than expediency, where you can see low hanging fruits right in front, but which will, in the long run, be not good enough. And ability in senior levels to speak truth to power, greater focus on substance. I am afraid in this nation we have a lot of focus on substance, especially in places like I am. But we seem to be getting very enamored by form and catchy phrases. And that's not good enough. We have to focus on substance. And you had one more question.
Yes, you're getting the advantage because we rarely get a army, a soldier next to us because most of the time you're busy defending us. If you were to command um, an innovation battalion today, what would your first order be?
So that's an interesting question. If I may repeat for those students who didn't get it, if I was given charge of a innovation battalion or innovation organization, what will my orders be? So my first order will be that please change the existing culture, which does not encourage innovation stroke invention. That's the first order. Second is encourage new ideas, including out of the box ones, and you may have a success rate of just 10%, but so be it, that 10% will be good. And lastly, focus on the how, not just why. Sorry, the other way around, focus not just on how, but also on why. That's what my orders would be. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Uh, we would like to take some questions from the audience, but before that, allow me to ask two questions to Kiran Bhai. The first one is France is known for refinement and India for depth. You have beautifully combined the two because you live in France and you keep coming back to India based on Indian knowledge system. What do these two civilizations teach each other about inventing for the future? Briefly.
Yes, I'll try to be brief. But just before that, I would just like to add a sentence or two. 2 years ago, on the July 14th, which is the National Day of France, there was a military défilé, the march past, like our 26th January. And Mr. Modi was invited as the chief guest, and at the same time, our Indian Army and Air Force, in fact, all the three forces were invited to participate in that military march. It was very impressive, certainly. It was perfectly disciplined, whether it was the French army or the Indian army or Indian Navy or Indian Air Force. Even the flights of the Rafale was done by the French people as well as the Indian pilots. Outwardly, it looked beautiful, perfect. But even then, it impressed something more, not only to me, but even to the French people. Then they asked me, we felt something different, something great. What is it? Even I've also tried to think. I've also tried to find it out. What was the difference? The military people, they sent left with the left and a perfect. But this discipline, then to satisfy my own mind, I just said that the Indian Army has certainly the perfect discipline of any other country, but there is something more to that, and that is the whole history of India, the whole heritage of India, the whole sadhana of India, the whole passion of hidden spiritual force of India is there in their presence. And certainly that's what we feel also when India sends as participating armies as the peace force. Now, coming to the French and Indian culture, I would first of all just say that there have been great civilizations. Let's say the Egyptian civilization of pyramids and pharaohs and beauty and everything. But now it has remained to the museums, even the hieroglyphics, the book of death we read. Then the second civilization, that of China, which is as ancient as India, which has great achievements, not only the Chinese Wall. Today, China is one of the leading countries, and as India and China are not in perfectly good terms, I would not put other remarks about that, except that we are a democratic country and they are not. Now, regarding speaking about democracy, India is not just the largest democracy, but I would like to tell you it is the oldest democracy. Even 5,000 years that democratic, that Ganrajya, Ganatantra did exist. The kings were there, but at the same time there were rishis who were there, who were holding the kings to work properly. Similarly, each and every individual was consulted in that part of our democracy. So, just telling about these two things. But then there is the Mesopotamian civilization or Baghdad or ancient Babylon, which existed. And the last that Babylon was nothing else but Baghdad, and there was nothing else but during the last war of liberating Iraq, the big bombs could do was to destroy the only library which existed since so many hundreds of years. So the and from that civilization came the European civilization. But the Indian civilization, what is its great beauty? It might have fallen, it has arisen, but it has continued. The same saris I see today, which existed in those days, the same sort of ornaments, but still more, the depth and the profound work on the inner level. France today, yesterday, since almost 2000 years, has worked a lot on beauty, lot on art. There are more than 30 to 40,000 world-renowned artists are staying in Paris, who have done so many exhibitions, who have done so even our own tissues and fabrics, they make it into, and then it's a country of perfumes, country of, so the beauty in its own manner That has been France's symbol. Paris has become the symbol of tourism. And India has everything, is doing everything, but sometimes I feel that there is a weakness in this. And this weakness, sometimes we just cover it up, that this is our humility, this is our spirituality. We need to be back. We need to hide ourselves and we just need to meditate. But I believe the time has come where this meditation, we need to open our eyes and we need to wake up, like Swami Vivekananda said, Uttishtata Jagrata Prapya Varanni Bhutata.
Beautiful. The last question is a very challenging question because you will have to answer it only because of lack of time, only in one word. So that is your challenge. If yoga is India's software for the soul, can Ayurveda be called the world's natural operating system?
One word is yes.
Thank you. So, because of lack of time, if you want to ask any
No,
questions,
I just add one little word that Ayurveda is for first swastha that we need to be in good health. Each and every one needs to be in good health, whether you would like to be an artist, whether you would like to be an artist, whether you would like to be a person working in business, whether you would like to be a soldier, that the first necessity is a good health. And this good health, not only I would go a little beyond, not only the good health of the body, but the good health of the sentiments, of the emotions, and the good health of the mind. Our mind needs to be strong with a definition, with an aim, because an aimless life is always a miserable life. One needs to have an aim, and our aim, if it is noble and higher, it will lift up higher. And then we need to have the psychic and spiritual health. And I would say that India alone holds the key of this psychic and spiritual health. And this can come certainly with a sadhana or discipline, but with uprising of whole of India and with the aim to transform ourselves.
thank you, Kiran Bhai. Though you have lost the challenge, you have won with a very, very insightful and beautiful answer. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Any questions? I think you all, okay. So can I conclude? Together, both of them remind us that India's greatest strength lies not in imitation, but in imagination, not in wealth alone, but in wisdom. True leadership is a combination of Devashishta, as you say, Raja and a Rishi. Both these two elements have to be within you so that you can be a good leader. I would like to, because for the need of an advice for the youth, I have chosen a very small few sentences from Sri Aurobindo that hold eternal flame of the nation's spirit. And many years back, he said, and which is so essential because most of us are anything else but Indians. And that is one thing that comes because of our colonized mindset, comes in the way of really having original thinking. The platform of Invent of India was made so that people can start once again, like in the olden days, have original thought, original thinking. And Sri Aurobindo writes with all his beauty and power, there are times in a nation's history when providence